What is it about starting time? Hi, I'm Jerry Kosak. I am doing a lesson here for anybody and everybody during this time of lockdown when we're stuck in here, and maybe you want to pick up a new habit. So if you do, this might be fun because it can seem a little intimidating doing this sort of a thing, but let me post that. This kind of guitar is really pretty straightforward, so I'm just going to run through some of the basics. It doesn't matter, you don't have to have a shiny guitar like this. Virtually any guitar will do. Even a nylon string guitar would work just fine, and maybe I've got one over there I can maybe demonstrate. Yeah, just use whatever you have around the house. I mean, I've got these slides, I'll go through a bunch of them. Tunings, and I'm using a foot stand to elevate my guitar so you can kind of see what's going on. And this is my first time doing a YouTube live, so I'm learning as we go. So basically, what I'm going to do is show you how to play. The goal will be to play this tune called "Wary for the Devil Blues," and I tabbed it out last night. It's something that I wrote for a student a long time ago. 12-bar blues in the key of G, and it has a lot of different techniques. So before we launch into it, maybe I'll play it. I just was playing it at the beginning there, but if you're just joining the stream, then this is kind of how it goes. So like I said, it's in open G. So my guitar is tuned to an open G chord, and that just means that, like on a standard tuned guitar, you might have to fret the strings there. Here, the strings are just tuned D, G, D, G, B, and D. And that together gives us a nice chord. So it's kind of really simple. If you have any sense of rhythm, and even if you don't, you can. And it sounds pretty good like that. What I'm using on my, I play with it on my pinky. I'm using a brass slide that I've had for a long time, and I like that. But there are other types of things. This is a type you can get online. It's made by, as I say, they're mudslide. These are great. These have fantastic tone. It's called black ceramic. They come in a variety of sizes. You can get the old Jim Dunlop. What is that? It's a model 212. Again, it's the pinky size, but I like the thicker wall glass because it sounds better. The thin glass doesn't sound that good. And each of these is going to have a different sound. It may not translate through the internet here, but you find what you've got and what works for you and go from there. Anyway, here's the tune "Wary for the Devil Blues." So that's the blues that I kind of want to work with here today, and there's a lot going on there, a lot of things that maybe look like sleight of hand. So I'll try and explain things, and I apologize if you're watching and you play a lot and you know all this. Well, maybe you'll pick something up or maybe, you know, maybe this might not be what you need. But anyway, once you can get your guitar into an open tuning, and again, I'm using G. The one thing to remember, because I remember my early slide mentor did not like to play in this tuning because he had a hard time hitting the 5th string for the bass. He just kind of wanted to always hit the low string. Your bass note, G, is always the 5th string. And if you can just keep that going. And the underlying rhythm behind not all blues, but this type of blues is what's called a shuffle rhythm. So it's kind of like you break each beat into 2 parts, a long part and a short. So you get a, and that's different than like a marching band rhythm that would be 1 and 2, and this is 1 and 2 and 3. And it's more relaxed, more laid back. And that's the underlying pulse. We could go through the whole progression. I'm just going to use my thumb and just play 2 strings, the 4th and the 5th. Now I'm at the 5th. 7th fret, 5th. And then there you've got the blues. Okay, so I'm trying to be a little methodical here. The one thing technique-wise that you're doing, and it's really important to remember with the slide, is you're not pushing down. Like when you play a regular guitar, you actually push these notes down. So like here's the 12th fret. But with the slide, you just want to let it ride nicely along. So you're always sort of balancing this sense of relaxation with tension. The tension being you want to get to the 5th fret there in that instance, but you don't want to go, you don't want to try, you know, hit the frets and all that. So there's a real balance there. And that is also somewhat influenced by how high your strings are, or what guitarists will refer to as the action. My strings are fairly low on this guitar. They're not particularly heavy. This is I think it's a standard 12 to 53 gauge D'Addario strings. They just work. And that still allows me to fret notes. See, there's a G7 chord with no slide. And I'm just playing. I should show you some of these. I'm at the 1st finger is on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and then the middle finger is on the 4th string, next fret, and the 3rd finger is at the 6th fret. And cool thing about this, in this tuning, that makes a G7 chord, and you can hit all the strings. They sound great. If you want to play the whole progression, you know, like, and I want to get to a C chord, I could just go up. So now that I'm at the 8th fret, the 9th fret here. One more, sorry. That's up to the 11th fret. That'll make the D. And there's a lot of extra noise. That's how you would do it with a slide. So the 2 ways, I mean, this one chord, and again, kind of let you see that fingering there. 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. That's going to be anywhere on the guitar. The main way you want to play because of the slide is if you go up to the 5th fret, and a lot of times you'll have a dot there, then that's going to be the C chord. A way that you can play the C chord in 1st position if you already know chords, it looks like an A minor 7 in open position or the C chord without the third finger. And that becomes actually C add 9 because you have the open D on top. So anyway, it's easier if you slide up to the 5th fret, and then because the slide is trying to imitate the human voice, you don't want to just go, because as it dies away, it's going to just get uglier and flatter and more out of tune. So you learn to develop a wide vibrato. What I do is keep my thumb flat against the back of the neck, and then, because what I'm trying to do is use these other fingers to dampen the string. Here's what it would sound like if I just slide. And for some things, that's really cool. Others, I remember hearing a really, really great slide player years ago say that, you know, people sometimes misconstrue the fact that the old guys, they just kind of jangled and played whatever. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But he said, I'm convinced that you can mute all that unwanted sound if that's, you know, your goal. Even because one thing that I try to do is keep my index finger here. So a thing that you can do if this slide is new to you, you know, you figure out what finger do you want to use it on. A lot of people use it on their 3rd finger. You have to get one that fits. I think Bonnie Raitt uses it on the middle finger. There are people that play it on the index finger, and they do it upside down like this, and then they can fret behind it. I mean, there's no one right way. You find what seems to work for you, and then one thing about the slides, though, I noticed, I don't know if you can tell, I've got some duct tape in there, and it looks kind of like this. I just have a little piece of gaffer's tape that I have, and I put tape inside my slide. Now, you don't want to get it out on the edge because then it'll gunk up your strings and it actually gets caught. But if somebody gives you a slide that's flopping around, you don't want that. So you put a shim inside of it, and the tape, I'm telling you that this slide here is over 30 years old, and that duct tape's been in there, you know, at least that long. And mine also has this really cool thing. My buddy in Flagstaff, Arizona, Ray Rossi, made this for me. He not only beveled the edges so that they're rounded off, he put a webbing notch so that, boom, that thing fits. If you can see where my fingers go, it fits over the webbing. It's the only one like this I've ever seen. It's pretty awesome. I've lost it like a dozen times, and then thankfully I find it. And this is made of brass. So a very simple exercise that you can do to just practice getting in touch with the slide. You can do one string or all of them and just practice going to the 5th fret there as a chord or as a single note. And this is a time when you can use these various dots. You can go 5, 7, 9, 12. You could try it on the different strings. It won't play in key necessarily, but it's just a way to practice moving the slide around. And then, of course, the basic chords, all that you really need for this G blues is you have the open strings, the 5th fret, and the 7th. And the instant way to sound cool is, you know, you can go to the 12th fret and immediately sound cool. Like it's not in this tuning, but Robert Johnson wrote a song called "Dust My Broom," and a later blues player named Elmore James made a big hit out of it because he came up with that classic. And that's one that everybody wants to learn. And it's really easy, and all of a sudden your friends are like, "Wow, man, you're awesome! I didn't know that you could do this." So the way I get that lick, I'm using all my fingers. I'm not using any finger picks right now. You can. I actually have acrylic on my nails, and so if I wanted to play that riff, I'm just going to use I'm just going to use one finger, make it simple. And so I'm plucking upward. The three parts to that are, you get 2 or 3 strings all together, second string, third string. So when you're counting that, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's kind of in between the beats there. And what I'm doing here is playing strings 5 and 4, and then I'll just use my index finger and I'll press at the 2nd fret on the 4th string. Like that. Then when I go up to the 5th fret, there's no moving parts. There doesn't have to be. I just take the slide. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's noisy, but this isn't classical guitar. I mean, this is blues. So I'm just playing the rhythm with the right hand, and then getting the notes. And so you practice that. I'll just play through the progression once, and then I'm gonna just kind of highlight that because I won't have time right now to get through that whole tune. If you are interested and would like to get a copy of this tablature, just leave in the comments, leave an email address or something. I won't send you any spam. I won't sell your information. I'll just send you a PDF of that, and you can have that. It's no big deal. It's blues. And that tune is Wary for the Devil Blues, which is on one of my CDs that I think is on both my website, which is jerrykosak.com. It's on Facebook, it's on SoundCloud. You can find it, but the tune's Wary for the Devil. Anyway, this is what it would sound like. 2, 3, 4. And that ending is just a turnaround going from the 5th, 6th, 7th. And I just played that whole thing on strings 4 and 5. A couple of the things I'll just highlight off of this. The turnaround, because that's the way the beginning is. A turnaround just is usually the last 1 or 2 bars of a blues to signify to everybody that we've reached the end of this form, which is 12 bars or 12 measures. And now we're going to turn around and go back to the beginning. And whether you like it or not, if the rest of the band is there and you're not, you got to join them. So that comes after we've gone. This is the D, C. It's a bunch of different ways you can do this. What I played here, and it's detailed in the tab, I'm just using my middle finger. You can use any finger, fretting the note F on the 4th string, and then I'm using thumb and 2 fingers. I just pinch those. It's kind of like snapping your fingers. And again, that maintains the shuffle rhythm. The ba da 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 da. So you've got. And again, if you watch the hand here, it's the thumb and 3 fingers, then just the fingers, thumb and 3 fingers. And then you could just go slide up to the 7th fret. What I have detailed there is playing this chord, which is kind of like a D7 from standard tuning without the 3rd finger. You just need to put fingers 1 and 2 down, and you play strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I do is and that riff is on the 5th string. I'm using my thumb, open, slide to the 3rd fret, slide away to one fret. So 3, 2, open. And you learn to give this a fluid quality, kind of like a voice. That's what you're trying to imitate. So the idea is not to go unless you like that sound. And again, there's no perfect right way to play it. Typically, you slide from underneath the note. That means lower to higher. You could, that would be a variation going from, I'm going to the 5th fret. So that whole turnaround ends up here from the, what would be measure 9 of the blues. The D, C, open G string, and the thing is, you just keep the counting. I mean, I'll try and stomp and see if you can hear this. And then that's the top of the blues there. So it's important not to add or take away beats, but you know, a lot of, I mean, we could do a whole lesson on just trying to keep this, keeping that bass going, because that's so important. I know I have a tune that I use with a lot of my students. It's not slide, it's just blues in standard guitar tuning in E. And that's the whole thing. There's 4 choruses of it. That's something else. You know, if you are interested, I do online lessons. You can just get a hold of me through here, my website, whatever. Again, that's Jerry Kosak, KOSAK.com. I don't want to drone on here too long. I see we're already at 24 minutes. So I'm just going to play the opening riff on this Wary for the Devils and call it good for today. And you know, if you're interested, we can talk down the road. Please leave a comment. So the beginning of that, I'm using 2 fingers hitting strings 1 and 2, and I'm going to the 12th fret, but I slide into it. And there's all sorts of coordination going on there, so it's probably a little more challenging than it seems. But I'm playing sort of 2 different rhythms. The triplet rhythm, that means 3 per beat. You know, you've got, if the beat is going here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You're breaking that beat up into 3 equal parts, and it goes like this: 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And where I'm nodding my head, that's the beat. So it's important that you. Now, what I do with that is I play the thumb while I'm sliding into it. So actually the chord, it's the wrong chord when I begin. but you don't hear that because you do it quickly. And that's the riff there. Then I break that up. The first 2 beats, 1, 2, then I just go to the second string only. And that's really just 1 and 2. So what you could practice there would be, and it doesn't matter, use your index finger, 2nd string, 3rd string, thumb. And you practice these ideas until you can feel them and you can anticipate them and hear them. So again, I'll just reiterate I think it's just the first measure. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And typical of blues, you'll make a musical statement. So the second part of that, I'm just trying to look here. I'm just going to go from what I remember. It should be 1, 2, and 3. Now this second time, I play the B string, the 2nd string twice. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can break this down so that you play thumb and 2 fingers, thumb and 1 finger, 1 finger, thumb. So you got 1, 2, 3. And this is the thing that I learned studying classical guitar. Learn to play these challenging parts just as open strings, so you give your right hand a chance to learn what it's trying to do. Then you add the slide. Here it is, open. And then you put those 2 parts together. Then I go up to the 15th fret. And I tend to take my thumb like this to silence. And this is all detailed in the tab. So please, if you are interested, leave me a way to contact you that's valid, and I'll be happy to send you the PDF of that. So that's about as far as I really want to go right now, because I think where are we here? It says I'm almost at a half an hour. That's kind of plenty. I appreciate any comments, as long as they're helpful and legitimate. Don't need to be told how bad I am. I already know that. And thank you for checking in. Hopefully this will be staying up on YouTube for a while, and you can come back and check things out. Please feel free to get a hold of me, Jerry Kosak at jerrykosak.com, and my website address is jerrykosak.com, period. So thank you very much, and this hopefully will give you something fun to do during the self-imposed quarantine. And I hope that everybody stays healthy and happy and plays their guitar. Thanks for stopping by.